Probably what I'm going to do is just leave this recording running for both episodes, and then we can chop the video down because, like, if you switch out of Zoom, like the converting video process takes 30 minutes easy. It's
Okay,
crazy. So, we'll just see how it
I
goes.
understand. Like trying to upload to YouTube takes like 45.
Really? Actually,
Yeah.
that's true because I remember like in where the hell was I stuck? Peru. And
And you were trying to upload?
upload on crappy internet. It was not happening. I was just standing there
Uh-huh.
like with my arm in the air for like 20 minutes, which is fun. Well,
You're like
yeah.
switching. You're like,
Yeah,
no
exactly.
blood
Come
left. No
on. Please let it
blood.
be done. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, okay,
Uh,
right.
okay. Okay. So 15 is power of touch, 16 is board game therapy. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Works for me. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, okay,
And
I'm
then do
gonna
you want to
start.
do the same thing with Audacity? Oh, that's what you're saying. So
No, no,
Zoom,
no,
record
no.
the
I know. I think with
Audacity, you want to stop
Audacity, we'll
and
do separate ones. We'll
okay.
we'll we'll
Okay.
save it off and then we'll but I think for the Zoom recording we'll just do one because as I
Okay.
say it can be a pain converting. So
Okay.
if
And it
that
doesn't
works.
have like normally we go like 1 hour and 15 minutes or whatever. It doesn't have to be that. Did
I
I
still
write
think
doing?
that's fine. I mean, if we stick to that and maybe take like a wee 5 minute break halfway through, so because I
To
will
pee?
inevitably need a pee, yeah. So
Look, I'm like hydrating.
my baby bladder.
Yeah,
Okay,
my baby. I have a tiny bladder too.
yeah, it's good. It's good and bad. Anyway, right.
Yep, yep.
Shall we? I'll do a countdown and we'll go
Three,
on
two, one,
one
press.
go. Yep. So
Yeah. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your tactile, corporeal hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other tactile and corporeal host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always.
Hi,
Hi.
Andy.
Hi.
What's the second one?
Corporeal?
What's corporeal mean?
It means
Corporeal.
possessing like a body. So, like, you
Ah.
often more often hear incorporeal, which is like ghosts and things like that. So,
No.
corporeal is
I've learned so much. I'm gonna have to like look this up when we're done.
yeah, I mean like some of these words, I mean like I knew what corporeal was and it was something that was in my brain, but like it's only whenever I'm kind of looking for words related to art today's subject and these things pop up and I go, "Oh yeah." Not only is that a fun word, it's kind of pleasing to say, which is my how I decide on these things.
Well, very, very well done this
Thank
week.
you.
You're welcome. So, what I'm gonna start. What's
Okay.
the crack?
What is the crack?
What's the
So,
crack? It's been a
uh,
week.
it has been a week. So I am settling into the new year, doing all the kind of exciting stuff like checking all my invoices, checking my income, my expenses spreadsheet. That's been fun. So I've been doing all that, but that's all squared away now, which is nice. But yeah, so it's been grand. It's just been a kind of a productive week, I guess. But do you know that sort of like I don't know whether this is a commonality, but like the first few weeks, perhaps even all of January, you're like, oh shit, what's happening now? What should I be doing? What do I want to be doing? And trying to like sort yourself into that place is very much something the area that I'm in right now.
Yeah, I think it's similar here. I think, or at least from my perspective, we figure out like finances.
Hmm.
We talk a lot about travel and like who goes where
Mm.
when, because that might get his work schedule. And then we also like, where do we put our travel money this year?
Yep.
And then finances, like I literally just cashed out all of my retirement because we need to pay off like debt.
Yep.
So that was fun. So
Yep.
I have no retirement now. Mike's like, I'll share mine. I was like, please do. So
Wow.
so yeah, I think that it January's hard,
It is.
just to be flat out completely honest. Like it's just hard.
It
And
is. It is.
it's like you go through the new year, you're like, even though we try not to make resolutions and we try not
Yep.
to do those things, it's still uh it's like I call them life chores.
Yes,
The life chores still have to happen
they
and
do.
it's just annoying and not fun.
I think it was good though that we both had a bit of a reset and that we both like
Yeah.
took some time away. We were lucky to be able to do that, and we did, and
Yeah.
I think that helped. I mean, it kind of softens the blow a bit. I mean, it still friggin' sucks, but it definitely softens it a wee bit.
I think it just gives me like a different, not a different perspective, but it's almost like I pull out a little bit
Hmm.
and I'm able to sort of like look at my life from
Yeah,
like, it's like I astral project out of my body.
nice.
And then I'm like, like we need a
Okay.
carpet in the bathroom. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah,
Because it's fucking
yeah.
cold on my feet every morning. And I'm like, Mike, can we have a heater? Turn up the heat. And then I'm like, oh, or we could not spend it on electricity and I could just get a carpet and wear
Yeah,
socks, you know?
I like
So
it.
yeah,
The
I'm just
important
blabbing,
decisions.
but
Yeah.
about
Um,
leaving my body.
yeah, I mean, it sounds nice. I like leave my body and look, I go, oh no, what's up? What's going on?
No.
Um, I
What the hell
suppose,
is he doing?
yeah, exactly. Where you are. I should, I mean, I suppose we are getting into what the crack is with you, but did I need to ask you that? Do you have anything else to kind of crack wise to
Uh
report? Oh,
I
that's
do. So my best friend's here from Oregon.
nice.
Yeah, and yesterday they came over for dinner, but before that they went to a winery and
Mm,
she's like, I'm in hell right now. I'm on a wine tasting tractor with a music like there's like music playing and I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "We haven't moved in 45 minutes." Like and then
okay.
she's like, "Oh, she's like, I'm fucking dying, like just sitting on this hot tractor like drinking bottom shelf wine." And then they like they like moved very slowly and basically just went around like the driveway and came back. And the whole purpose was to sell beef. I don't know. So it's just the funny things that people create in order to
It
promote a product.
it makes me so angry. Look, I have been on trips in the past where you're like, I paid for this trip, and it's like, oh, on the way back from the trip, we're going to stop off at this factory. They sell cloth and things like that. They'll make you a suit. And like, the driver comes off and shakes hands with the guy who clearly owns the place, and it's like, fucking, come on, guys, what are
That's
you doing
happened
to
to
us?
me too. I didn't really put it together that that's like a thing,
It
but we
is.
were we were like on some remote island and like there was one airport and one fire truck. Like I think it was like 500 people that live on the whole thing.
Hmm.
And like we wanted to get to our pension, which is like a little like not a it's like a family owned house,
Yes,
but you stay
I've,
there kind of
I've,
thing.
yeah, yeah, I heard that when I was in Cuba, rather, they called them that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So sort of pension but like and like one car that takes you to town from the airport. They stopped at the four shops that were like
Yeah.
on the island. And then we sat there for an hour because they wanted us to like go shopping. And I'm like, I hate shopping.
Yes.
So, and I was annoyed that like I was tired. I wanted to just like get there, unload, take a nap, so I like didn't buy anything on principle. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, when you have a captive audience on a bus and you or a tractor, you don't have to let them go.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't think, I mean, and I get it, like, people need to make money and whatever, but
Yeah.
it's kind of crappy, honestly. And
It's kind of
uh,
like, a kidnapping a little
it
bit.
is, it is. And like, I would prefer if there was like honesty to it. If it was like, look, my friend owns a shop. If you could buy some
Mhm.
stuff here, I'd appreciate it. I
Mhm.
would be more likely to pick up something under those circumstances. But instead, it's like,
Totally.
oh, huh? I'm
Oh,
just thinking,
just check
it's
this
just
out.
a weird coincidence. There's a shop here we could maybe go and check out. That kind of frustrates me a little bit.
Yeah. So then how do we kidnap people to listen to our podcast? That's where I
Um,
go.
we need to do like a podcast tractor, and
Uh-huh.
the
Where we just
tractor.
everyone listens to us have a conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As they go on an hour and 15-minute tractor journey. All right, okay, I'm writing this down. This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
Okay. Oh, we're geniuses. Okay.
We'll do it.
Um, yeah, so that's the crack.
What's your crack this week?
That's my
So
crack.
the other thing I've got to ask you is what's occurring?
You have to. This,
I,
yes. So,
I
okay.
must. I do have
You
something.
must. I have news on things
Uh-huh.
that I haven't even told Andy.
Ooh.
So he's hearing this for the first time. So, Well, number one, we have a Patreon
Mm-hmm.
page
You got it.
and it's
Uh-huh.
live.
Ooh.
And so what I've done and what you get, it's a monthly subscription and it allows you to watch the Zoom videos that we record while we actually record the podcast at the same time. So you get to see us.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy, feel free if you want to, jump in on the amazingness that's happening
Uh,
in the
I mean,
background.
there's like, I mean, if you so you could like make a game of trying to figure out what board games I have in the background of shot every
What
day.
we're actually drinking.
Yeah, yeah, what we're actually drinking. Yeah, yeah, what we're drinking
Mm,
from. Do you know what I
huh?
mean? What
Right?
we're writing with, like how engaged we are, whether,
Whether or not I record this in my daughter's bedroom with a Barbie dream house behind
yeah,
me, you gotta know these things. So,
whether, whether when I say that I'm reaching into my mind palace, am I in fact actually Googling
so it is live. You can find it at bendypodcast.com.
Awesome.
And there's just a link for the, I can't pronounce this thing,
But I think
Patron.
I've heard different pronunciations.
Yeah,
Patreon,
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 I
I
think.
think.
I
Yeah.
wrote it phonetically in the outro the other day. So,
Okay,
and I should
nice.
have done it here, but I forgot.
Patreon.
So,
Yeah,
really
that's
good
fine.
at marketing this.
People know what you're talking about. It's fine.
I know. So go to the website, please subscribe,
Hmm.
so that we can make this our living. That would be
Yeah,
amazing.
that would be
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
So that's
and
we're hip to the we're yeah. And then I think we'll probably start creating like mini-sodes
yeah,
and doing some other fun things where we tell each other jokes, or
yeah.
maybe we'll do a cooking show. I don't know.
Oh, now
A
we're
non-cooking
talking.
show, cooking show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Where we just like spent an hour talking about the food we are gonna make and don't not actually make
Right.
anything.
And then not
Yeah,
actually do it. You
yeah.
can teach me how to make blood pudding.
Pass.
And then you can watch me vomit.
Yeah, no thanks. Even
Sorry.
I don't want to make blood pudding.
My second piece of occurring.
Hmm.
So our website, I've been working on it, bendypodcast.com. And so I've been inserting, we make little YouTube snippets.
Uh-huh.
And so I've added those to each individual episode. So for those that maybe can't afford the Patreon subscription, you can at least look on YouTube and
Yep.
catch up on little snippets of us being fucking hilarious. So
Hmm.
that is
Hmm.
up. So check out the website, and that's what I've got there.
Love it.
Ta-da!
Ta-da, that's good stuff. And I
Ah,
didn't I didn't know most of that information, so
I
it's
know,
it's
right?
it's lovely. That's great.
Happy
Um,
birthday.
thank you. It's early, but I'll still
It's
take
not, I
it.
know it's not your birthday.
So I'll take it. I have just one. We talked about what episode was it? We were in an episode of a few episodes ago, about 4 or 5 episodes ago. We talked about Mesopotamia. So a
Mm.
friend gave me a Mesopotamia.
Oh, and this is where we like didn't know anything
Yeah, we don't know
about
anything
it.
about Mesopotamia, but I mean,
Okay.
like,
All
in
right.
terms of the list of things that I don't know anything about, it's pretty long. Just
Same.
so my friend
We're
sent
like
me
a
this.
blank slate.
I know exactly, very much so. Um, so my friend sent me this, and this was straight from the dome, and his, according to him, was Mesopotamia translates from Greek as the place between two rivers, the rivers being the
Oh,
Tigris and the Euphrates, and Mesopotamia is essentially Iraq. So there you go.
gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just
Huh.
thought that would be, I think he was listening to the episode and he sent me the update. So it was,
Well,
I was
yeah,
like,
we need,
oh,
that's what we ask people to do, is to
yeah.
educate us. So thank
We,
you,
thank you. So
Andy's
yeah,
friend. Thank you.
that's the only what's a current update I have for this week currently.
Okay,
Yes, it is. It is.
fine. Okay. Okay. Do you want to jump into our topic?
Yeah,
I'm excited about this topic.
me too. I think it's an interesting one, and it's a one that like as I was, writing about it and making notes for it, I was like, I've got tons of different angles into it. So yeah.
Mhm. I'm curious to see what your angle is and what my angle is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
So do you want
I was almost like, send me your notes. And then I was like, no, let's let this be what it is. So
Yeah, we discover it as we're talking.
yeah,
So what's the title for our episode, Beth?
it's the power of touch.
Okay. I was going to. I lost confidence in it. Maybe I should just do it now. I was going to go, you know, you've got the touch, you've got the power. Do you know
What is, yes,
that?
what's it from? You've got the touch, you've
So,
got the
two
power.
things. It's from Transformers the movie, and
Oh my God.
it was then appropriated for Boogie Nights whenever Dirk Diggler has a really ill-advised
Yes,
recording career. They wanted something
yes.
really kind of naff and 80s sounding, so they took You've Got the Touch from the Transformers movie and had him re-record it.
That's so epic that you know that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just one of the many useless pieces of information in my brain.
Do you
Um,
know what I found out? Did I tell you about The Shining and Blade Runner?
no.
Okay. So I found out that, like, you remember at the ending of the original Blade Runner,
Hmm.
like they're like driving away. Sorry, if you haven't seen it, I'm telling you the ending. Like he
Spoiler alert.
drives into the wilderness away from the city with the robot girl and they're, Harrison Ford, of course, is happily ever after. But Ridley Scott didn't want to end the movie that way, but the studios were like, it's got to be a happy ending. And
Uh-huh.
he's like, well, this is like a world where there is no wilderness anymore. Like, this makes no sense. Obviously, like, it's this whole city where there are cars flying. Like, what? Um, at the same time, Stanley Kubrick was filming The Shining.
Hmm.
And so Ripley didn't want to, right? He's the director of Blade Runner, isn't he? Or
Ridley Scott. Ridley.
Ridley
Hmm.
Scott. So Scott didn't want to spend, he ran out of money or whatever. He didn't want to
Hmm. Hmm.
spend money to get the aerial shots of like, the car driving. And so, and like the scenic stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he ended up calling Stanley Kubrick and being like, "Do you have the exterior shots of just like the nature from The Shining?" And he's like, "Yeah, I probably got like 19 hours of this or whatever." And he's like,
Nice.
"Can I have it for my movie?" And he's like, "Sure." And so that's actually what you see
I did
from
not
The
know that.
Shining.
Oh,
Yeah. And then
interesting.
they insert a couple of like the car actually like driving up a hill
Yeah,
in like
yeah.
Southern California or whatever. But yeah, that's the story there.
That's funny. Yeah,
Anyway.
because like I think then he did the director's cut, which I think people love, and um it had a much more ambiguous ending as I recall. But like my secret, and this is gonna get me in so much trouble, but my secret admission is I don't really like Blade Runner that much. I think it's fine.
Uh,
I think it's
uh,
fine. There's a lot of things I do like about it, but I just don't think it's super interesting. And I am gonna get eviscerated for this. But it's
It's
fine. That's my
fine.
opinion.
I say like Mike likes it, but I tolerate it. It's
Yeah.
slow and it's like I don't really it's weird like the guy playing with the dolls and like fixing the
Yeah.
dolls and like but I like the makeup. Like I just kind of want to rock the
Yeah.
raccoon eye
Oh,
bandana
so
thing,
good.
that Daryl
Yeah.
Hannah does or the yeah, anyways. That
Yeah.
was a super fucking tangent.
Yeah, wasn't
Sorry.
it? So we're talking about touch, everyone, this
Let's
week.
talk about touch. No, just
Um,
kidding.
and we're just
Uh
interested because I mentioned this to Beth because it's something I think about having traveled in different parts of the world, having lived in different parts of the world, I kind of see how different it is and like how different societies seem to treat touch. Just to, for a bit of context about like certainly my experiences in the UK is that we are not a touchy-feely people.
mm.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's a good thing necessarily. They talk about like that personal space sort of zone that like your average sort of Brit or UK person, Irish person would have, and it's really big.
We call it your personal bubble.
Personal bubble, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So like people have such a massive personal bubble, and I found in this country compared to other places, and I remember being in busier cities. Sorry, excuse me. And just being crowded in with people and being like, this feels wrong. I can't handle it, But
Hmm.
like, I mean, and obviously this is a massive generalization, and you will meet people who are more touchy-feely in this country. But like, I certainly my experiences in Korea and Taiwan is that people are more willing and able to make physical contact in ways that is kind of still kind of, I don't know, foreign to me, certainly anyway.
Yeah, I think here in the United States, um, we we teach our children about personal space and your personal bubble,
Hmm.
but I think a lot of it, I think, has to do with um, it's kind of case by case.
Yeah.
like generally as a community of people, shaking hands is a thing, hugging is a thing.
Yeah,
Um, we don't do the cheek kisses like they do in France, but um, definitely hugging, definitely shaking hands. I think touch in general is more acceptable here.
I think so.
Um, e- but you know, it's like there are certain people I don't want touching me, and certain
Yes.
people I'm totally fine having touched me, and like we can get into that a little bit. But that's just generally like what it's like here, I would think.
Yeah,
And
I think
again,
that
like I'm generalizing for a whole country, but that's just been my
exactly.
experience.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're just talking our own experiences here, and that's all we,
Right.
all we really can do. But and it's like, and I commented, whenever we were in Portugal, one of our friends who was there with us, like, is way more physical. Like, she'll just grab you and like be like, "Oh, okay, you got your whole lot of tension in your shoulders," or like push you or pull you. And I loved it, because it's the sort of like,
I
um
forgot about that.
it's just, and I told her that I did. I said it really, it was really nice for me because like I like that. There's something kind of warm and sort of friendly that I find, especially when it's somebody you care about and who you like, and it's something that I find is probably missing with a lot of my sort of interactions with people in the UK, generally speaking,
Mhm.
and yeah, and it was just kind of, and I think whenever I mentioned it to her, she didn't really find it remarkable. She was like, "Oh, it's interesting that you mentioned that," and I'm like, "That's great."
Mhm. Mhm.
That's as it should be as far as I'm concerned.
Can we talk a little bit about our yoga retreat that where we
Yeah.
became yoga teachers and what that was like?
Hmm.
Because I think that changed my reaction and well, it definitely changed my reaction. It changed how I hug people.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of, you know, we did yoga where, we were all up in each other's business,
Yep.
hugging each other, sitting in circle, grabbing each other's arms,
Yep.
doing partner yoga, all of those kinds of things. And one of the things that I learned that I thought was wonderful is normally you hug to the left,
Yeah.
but if you hug to the right, that's where your hearts are actually touching.
Yeah.
And I've made a conscious effort to start hugging people that way. And like I'll come in that way and I can tell that they're like, what? And I'm like,
Woo.
actually, this is so our hearts are touching.
Yes.
And so, and I think that made me more of a hugger too.
Yeah.
Like I fucking love hugging people. And I
Yeah.
know
Me
not
too.
everyone loves it. And I need to
Yeah.
like I like ask like, can I hug you? But sometimes I don't ask and I like just ambush them. And I know
Yeah.
that's not okay. So I'm working on it.
Yeah. It kind of makes me sad, and it's like I something that I have noticed because it's something I've thought about a lot. Because like I feel like, um, we've talked about, and something I discovered on that trip as well was the idea of love languages, and I very much feel like physical contact is my love language. So it was like
Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Huh.
I am, and I think it's why that like once I am certainly dating somebody and I'm within that sort of like barrier, they get like so much affection from me just because I crave it. And if it's somebody I love, it's awesome. So like I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it's an interesting one. I was talking about learning my love language, and so I think. Like it's why I think I felt such a sense of loss after that trip in terms of, I really liked being in that world. I loved that, like when we were in near the end, when we were all like even about a weekend when we were kind of familiar with each other, and we were on mats next to each other, and sometimes in yoga you reach out and you accidentally touch somebody, and like if
Mhm.
it happens over here, people are like, "Oh, sorry, sorry," just like jerk their arms back in surprise. But over there, you felt somebody's hand by accident. You kind of left it there. You maybe give their hand a wee squeeze. You maybe held hands for a little bit, and I was like,
Yeah.
"That's so much of a nicer way to handle that situation," And it's
Yeah.
such a shame there's not more of that, you know.
Yeah. And I wonder what that takes. Like, does it take being sequestered in a jungle for 2 weeks to have that, like, to let those things fall away so that you're able to do that with other people? Or does it take like a cultural shift where, even if you don't know somebody, just acknowledging them as a human,
Yeah, it's true.
like, I wonder, and I wish and I wonder, right?
It's it's so hard to say, and it's so baked into what I think our societies and things like that, like in terms of like attitudes about this. It's something I heard on a podcast. It was, completely unrelated. It was like a movie podcast, and one of the guys on there was talking about he had a realization recently that he wanted to hug his parents more, but they didn't really have a hugging relationship. And he was like, once you've kind of settled into that relationship, it's really hard to make that shift. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like,
Mhm.
and he's like, I think it might be, especially in physical contact, because it feels like such a ramp up beyond, speaking with somebody, is that fear of rejection. I mean, like even if you speak to somebody, there's a fear of rejection, certainly, but it's so much stronger, I think, whenever you involve that aspect of it. Um, and it it made me start thinking about, because there's people like I love, we've over the years, because of the way I've been and because of the way the society has been, we haven't had a huggy relationship. And I'm like, I kind of would like to change that, but it feels so weird because you just haven't been like that with them.
I think COVID also
Yeah.
had a obviously had a, sorry, just bumped the mic, had a huge impact on everything
Yeah.
like that, um, to the detriment of society.
Agreed.
And it's still a thing. It's still people are still getting it, and so there's still that concern. Um, and in a perfect world, obviously, like none of that would have happened. But people are afraid, there's a lot of fist bumping now. Like people don't
Yeah.
even shake hands. Um, but like being in when we were just in French Polynesia, it was so nice because there was hugging and there was the double kiss on the cheek.
Oh, I love
And I was
that.
just like, it just feels so good. It feels so good. And
It
I
does.
wish we had that in our culture, but we don't. But it was so nice to just like go somewhere and travel and experience,
It's
physical touch in other cultures, like we're saying.
always lovely to see our French friend. But she always does that as well. And it's like, oh, nice.
Yes, yes, yes.
It feels really lovely.
Let's say
Uh,
hi again.
yes, exactly.
And goodbye.
Exactly. Yes. It's
Um, so
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, I think I'm gonna go off on a rant, but I think
No,
you've got a
no. Oh,
question.
please rant. I love the
But
rants.
it's just one of the things that I notice a little bit about, and I suppose because I think US culture kind of leads the way for so many things, but I think of like there's some 80s 90s movies probably into the 2000s where
Mm,
you have characters who hug, and it's always like this weirdo. And it's like, I'm a hugger. And it's like, it's sold as like, this guy's kind of weird or this woman's kind of weird. And I was like, what a shame that that was kind of set up in that way. I like, and I've heard more pushback in recent years against, handshakes. Like handshakes just feel so like, um, this might be a particularly a male sort of experience, but like, whenever you shake hands with somebody, it's like we're not at war, but this is a competition. See who can squeeze the other one's hand more. And I'm
yeah,
always like, oh,
yeah.
I don't need this alpha male shit really here. And it just feels like it has taken what is, I guess, a halfway house style hug and just turned it into another sort of, bullshit competition thing.
It happens. It's interesting shaking hands as a female
Yeah,
because it's it's layered
yeah,
because you want to be uh like I had to perfect my more masculine handshake to be taken seriously to the point where I'll shake hands with like, a male who's like my boss or something, and they'll be
Yeah.
like, that's a very firm handshake,
Well.
they'll actually comment on it. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I know I worked on it very hard. Wow. Like, take me seriously kind of thing. Isn't that terrible?
No, I understand why, and like because it becomes it's become like certainly in business and things like that has become such a thing. But like I mean, it just to me stands as a further example as to why like the whole business world to me is a nightmare. I don't really ever want to go back to because I just hate all the sort of pissing contests. It's like, all right, let's establish if you're a decent human being and I'm a decent human being and we both think along the same sort of lines and then we can maybe work together. But instead, it's immediately like, you know, a fight, I guess, or like as I say, competition or
Mhm.
whatever. But it's just, I don't know, demoralizing.
Yeah. And I'll say also, I used to manage, I had a staff that I would
Hmm.
manage, and I couldn't hug them.
Yeah,
Like, it's like not seen as, being, because there's a power dynamic
yeah,
and some people don't like being touched. Like, I don't want to get sent to human resources over hugging people. So I
no,
just wouldn't, unless like they were crying or something. And then I'd
yeah,
be like, can I hug you? Do you need a hug? And
yeah,
ask permission, which I think is always a good idea.
that's
But
true.
yeah, but the dynamic there is different too. But
True.
like, seeing my best friend last night, like, just felt so fucking good. And
Yeah,
then I mentioned to her, I'm like, we're talking about the power of touch, and she's like, oh my God, I have so much to say about that. And
nice.
sometimes it's okay, and like sometimes I'm cool with people touching me, other people I'm like, don't fucking touch me.
Yes.
And
Eh,
so,
yeah.
and I was like, yeah, same, same.
It's very much, I mean, like it's like any of these things, unfortunately, it's something that people use to their advantage. It's like, and like one of the reasons why it's something that I kind of struggle with a lot is like I want to hug people more. I like, or even like initiating physical contact in any way is that like I don't want to make somebody uncomfortable. I don't want to put somebody in an unpleasant place, and I have seen guys in my life use touch as a way to kind of manipulate people, as a way to like, exert their influence. And I hate that. Like I'm not, that's would never be the reason why I would do it. So I like seeing that has like really kind of made me kind of retreat further.
Mhm.
So it's just eh, it's such a crappy one because as I say, I love hugs, I love touching people. Like I the friendships that I've built up those relationships with, I've it's great. It's awesome.
I'm picturing you like living in your like ideal dream world where you're just kind of skipping around and like everyone, and you're
Hmm.
like walking and giving everyone heart hugs, and
Yes.
doing yoga and holding hands, and
Do you remember?
you just look so happy.
I would. Yeah. Do you remember? Like we did. We're going back to our yoga training again. What was it called? The tunnel thing. It was
Yes.
essentially but we stood in two lines facing each other,
Oh, I might
and
cry. Yeah, I totally remember this.
and we chanted, "All I want from you is to remember me loving you." I know for some
All I
people are going to
want
be
for
like, "Oh
you
God," but it
is
was
to
really powerful.
be.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Beth.
I cried. I know. Like, and so what we did, there were two lines, and like you would hug the person across from you,
Hmm.
and then you would shift, and then you would hug the next person. So we all
Well,
hugged each other as we were chanting,
well,
right?
to be
Wasn't that it?
clear, it
Or
it
no, it
wasn't a
was
hug
like
necessarily. It was give them physical a touch of
someone was
affirmation.
walking through. It was
Yes,
touch of
somebody would walk
affirmation.
through between those lines and we were to give them a touch of affirmation, whatever that meant. And, some people it was a hand on the shoulder, some people it was a hug. And I was like, I'm hugging everyone. Everyone's got a really big hug. And I gave people really deep, heartfelt hugs. I like got feedback. I was like, it's just a lovely hug. And I'm like, yeah. I just wanted
You
to be
got
like that.
100% Andy.
You did. You got like it right from my heart, that hug. And that's the kind of environment I want to live in.
Yeah. And I just remember the effect that it had on
Yeah.
me, and also, people that hadn't really shown a lot of emotion that week were just like sobbing
Hmm.
at having that physical affirmation from a group of people that like, we all loved each other at that point,
Yeah,
and still do, obviously, and how meaningful it was. And I love that you remember the words because I don't. And I remember like writing them down and then like sharing them with the group because it was so meaningful. Um, and I'm going to ask you again. Just
for
send
those
me,
words.
just, yeah.
Okay. I still kind of like clear as a bell remember it. It's
Mm.
just because it was so, I mean, like so much of that trip was so meaningful to me. But yeah, that was really lovely, I thought.
This is connected, but I have a fact.
Uh-huh.
Did you know that there are professional cuddlers?
Oh, really?
Yeah, at least in the United States, where that's their job, is they'll come over and they'll spoon you in bed or hug you or like whatever you like, whatever. And it's like it's touch therapy, literally. And
That
you can hire someone for an hour to just like give you the, because it's like for people that live alone, right?
yeah,
And don't have a lot of friends, don't get out very often. Like, you know, they've done studies on primates about physical touch and like
yeah,
those that, not good studies, obviously, because they're like not allowing them to be around other primates and not
yeah,
allowing them to, do the picking of the fleas and all of that.
yeah.
Not preening, that's birds, but whatever monkeys do, where
Grooming.
they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
preen,
Hmm.
pruning, whatever. And like just how they're, you know, they don't live as long, their outcomes are not as good. And then I think about, humans, because we're all in the same kingdom, phylum, class, order, family,
Yeah.
genus, family, family. I
Yeah.
don't remember. Someone let me know.
Oh, they will.
Come on, scientists. They will. Um, so but like that's also a sign just of how bad it's gotten, that this
Yeah.
is a profession that people need to hire someone in order to actually have the physical touch that they need.
I I have two thoughts on this. A, that's heartbreaking that something like that's necessary. And B, I think I found my calling, Beth.
I think you have to. I think I was like, we can build. Yeah, like if this is something you want
Do you
to
know what I mean?
do,
Like,
yeah,
and like if I, especially if I, I mean,
your eyes are like
like lighting up. Yeah, I
they
was so
are.
excited.
Yeah.
Um, like especially if I was able to do it in the US, it was like, do you want an Irish cuddler to come around? An Irish cuddler. That's that's something. I'm writing that down.
Okay. Write it down and let's do it. Look it up. It's a thing.
Yeah, no, I
Would it work
love.
in your country?
Mm, it
Hmm.
would be a I don't know. Probably not. Like I'd say there's probably a lot of stuff stopping something like that from like so from happening. I'd say like even public opinion for a start would not treat that well, but because like it's the thing certainly regarding men, the no man is an island sort of thing, but like nearly every man I know kind of is a kind of an island, or tries to be a little bit, because that's what is kind of forced on us all. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I
Well,
think there's probably space
if
for it
you
because
ever,
like people struggle in this
yeah,
country, but it's just I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So
Well,
like
if you
yeah,
ever immigrate over here,
yeah. Cutler number one.
yeah,
What
that's
do you
right.
do, Andy? I teach yoga and cuddle people professionally.
Honestly, people be like, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, finally.
Yeah, I think I saw a documentary about it. I'll try and find it and send it to you. Just to give you
Yeah.
inspiration.
I'm definitely interested. Like I've got to say.
So,
Uh,
how do you handle like when you first are like meeting someone? Like, oh, this is my friend, blah. No.
like that's a nightmare for me. Like something that I was going to start talking about earlier was, yeah. So if I'm meeting somebody, if I can get away with a hug, I will. But like most of the time, it's like, hello. It's like wave at them. Is my default. I just don't want to be like, yes. If it's a guy and it's a professional context, I'll shake their hand or whatever. But or somebody older. But um, yeah, if I can, somebody recently was just like, I'm a hugger. Do you mind if I give you a hug? And I'm like, awesome. bring it in, you know.
You're like, me too. Me
Yep,
too.
yep, sign me
We
up. And
need
I'm
like a
like,
button that says like I hug or I don't hug.
that's a good idea. Um, so and it actually gave me inspiration because it made me think that I need to start doing this. I need to start like actually saying to people, look, I prefer hugging because handshakes are awful. So if that's something you might be interested in, let me know. Um,
There's this line, sorry, I'm writing this down for
sorry.
March. There's this line from the movie LA Story where uh he's like, yeah, I just shook hands with a guy. It feels like he was squishing caterpillars. And sometimes like I'll handshake somebody and their hand will be like wet, and I'll be like,
Yes, that's
yes,
gross. That's not
he was
good.
squishing caterpillar, or they, sorry.
Um, the bit I remember that from that movie is they were all the queue for an ATM and there was a queue of muggers, so they all had an individual
Yeah,
mugger.
yeah.
That's
Hi,
great.
my name's Bob. I'll be
Yeah,
your robber.
yeah, yeah. So good. Um, the because there was a few things that like have I wanted to talk a little bit about Korea, and they are much more of a physical culture. And one experience in particular really kind of opened my eyes in terms of like how they interact with each other. So when I was over there, the person I was dating, we were on, I believe the subway in Seoul. I can't remember exactly, but we were in Seoul somewhere, some sort of public transport, and she was like rubbing her. She had her hand behind her back, and she was rubbing that space between her shoulders, and she was a wee bit like tense. And then this like older Korean lady kind of came up, started talking to her in Korean, so I didn't really know what was going on. And then like fully started massaging her, like started like bashing fists on her back, and like fully doing everything she could to kind of help her like work out this knot in her back.
What?
And afterwards, I was like, "Oh, who was that?" And she goes, "I don't know."
There
And I
is
was just like,
absolutely no way.
right? And she was just like an because she was what's the Korean word ajima, which is like an older like aunt, sort of older lady sort of thing, who and she was just saw that she was struggling. She came over and she said, I can kind of help you out with this. And like I think it's maybe not an extreme example, but like because I saw other things like that happen, but like it's more. I think it's a good example of what I saw between other Koreans. Like one of my favorite things was you would see Korean men um, whenever they were drunk walking along hand in hand. And that happens, I know, in other European cultures and stuff like that. And that was like, how lovely. But it's just not something that there's no way that's going to happen here.
I mean, it does happen here, but the connotation is not positive, and it makes me really sad
Yeah,
because like I'll see Charlie on the playground, like he's 7, and he'll be holding hands with a friend,
nice.
and at some point someone's gonna say something,
Yeah,
and then he'll be like, oh, this is bad. And like those are the moments that I know are gonna come that like break my tiny like hard little black heart.
yeah, it's true.
uh but I remember being in yeah countries where everyone's holding hands and it's not a big deal, and I just think it's lovely.
It is.
um I guess, what do you like best about like physical contact with other humans? Like
Um,
what does it do for you?
I I really kind of like I don't know. There's a solidity to it. There is a intimacy to it, I guess. I mean, like I suppose, when we think about intimacy, people often think about romantic partners, certainly in this country, again, in my experience, but um I think there's something intimate about it. There's a familiarity to it that's really kind of quite lovely, especially if you can casually do it. Like and I think, it kind of frustrates me because I saw a friend at a festival, what, 6, 7 months ago now, and she's like appeared in front of me. And my immediate thought was to reach out and grab her hands and just kind of give her hands a squeeze because she was sitting across the table from me, and I just didn't. And I was like, ah, well, I wish I just kind of listened to that instinct and just kind of went for it, because like it's just grabbing somebody's hands for a second, it's not it's I think there's something quite sweet about that, just reaching out to another person, both on, every sort of level.
Hmm. Think
Um,
about the oxytocin that could have been released.
so disappointing. So I gotta try harder next time. But I don't know. It's just there's something. Uh, I a friend of mine, and we kind of got back. We got it back, but like I remember, like early on, she's from a different country as well, and she like, um, just was like saw that I was tense and started like sort of massaging my shoulders. And I just recoiled from it, and this was kind of early on. I was in a tense state at that time anyway, when I was still kind of trying finding myself, I guess. And I think it like push her away. I was like, I can't touch him. He's, overly sensitive. And I still kind of remember it so crystal clear because I just kind of regret the situation it set up, or this kind of relationship I built for a while.
Hmm.
Um,
I remember, I'm just jumping around a little bit, but I
mhm,
remember we were when we were in Portugal, we were at the
mhm.
castle. What was it?
Oh, the
I don't
St.
know.
George's Castle.
St. George's
Yeah.
Castle. Yeah, looking out, and there were like peacocks everywhere. And I remember it was you and me and our friend, and we were all looking out, and I was in the middle, I think, and
Yeah.
I just reached out and I grabbed both of your hands.
Yes.
And like that moment, just like standing there holding hands, like looking out over like the beautiful city. And I was just like, this is amazing. I'm like with my people. Like, I hope they feel my energy and like love, like
Absolutely.
coursing through, like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's a really beautiful way to put it. And I think that is it. I think if you can be in a situation where it's like, you can be fit, you can have physical contact with somebody, within limitations and all that. It really kind of elevates an experience in a way that is kind of hard to, um, I don't know, hard to kind of put, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, it's
Well,
just, I think it just elevates it.
I think so touch is a sense, right? Touch is connected to memory too. So I think
Hmm.
it probably makes memory stronger.
Yeah.
Like I remember a lot of things. Like I'm like going deep into the recesses of my mind garden and
Hmm.
finding like, oh, I remember that and that and like touch is involved. I remember that touch is involved. So I think that's part of it too. Maybe.
I very much so. And I think like I mean it's interesting to even I'm kind of noticing as I'm talking about it, like I'm being so careful as to what I kind of say. And it feels like such a charged thing
It
to
is.
like think about and talk about. And it's
Yeah.
that really makes me sad in a lot of ways. But I also understand it, and it's why I kind of pull back a lot is because, I the last thing I would want to do is to like touch somebody unwanted and to make that to make them feel uncomfortable. That would be
Hmm.
awful.
Hmm.
But then I think I overcorrect and as a result don't really touch people at all, and
Yeah.
it hurts my heart, to be honest.
Can I ask a question, a personal question?
Sure.
I mean, obviously, like these are all personal questions. So when you were in Peru and you were
Hmm.
really depressed, and we talked about this, I think, did we talk about this in the mental health
I think
episode?
so.
Do
We have
you
talked about it a little
did
bit, yeah.
did you have a lot of touch during that time period?
Not really, no.
And I wonder if that contributes. Do you think that that maybe contributes to your depression?
Uh, that's a good question. I think it's probably something to do with it, and it's probably speaks to why when I'm in a relationship, I don't really kind of get to quite the same sort of depths with the depression. Um, so yeah, it's probably there's probably something to do with that. Um, I it's probably why there was so much shagging going on in that hostel as well, because people were like
Yeah,
desperate for that sort of connection.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, that definitely was, yeah, I mean, that was a struggle on every level in that way. Um, it's just not like
We need to find you.
uh-huh.
We need to find you a cuddler.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so right, this is something, it's both tragic and illustrative of like how I go through life. But, so touch in terms of like what's the word I'm looking for? Not unapproved because that's going to sound awful. But like
Like
whatever,
like
like touch without kind of first clearing it with somebody is something I would very
can
rarely do,
like
right?
can non-consensual touch.
Non-consensual touch, thank you. That's exactly what I was
Okay.
looking for. So
Okay.
whenever there was somebody I liked, whenever I was out in Australia, and um, how I flirted with her was I put my hand on her shoulder. That was it. That was it, Beth. And then later on, when we dated, I told her that that was me flirting, and she was like, "What?"
Wow.
Right? Hey, I have problems. So yeah, so that's about as as hot as it gets whenever Andrew's flirting, and it's why I like struggle with that sort of aspect of life because it's like I just don't want to be like I don't know. It's an odd one.
Yeah. Oh, I think yeah. I think we've made a link with your depression, which I think is
I think so. I think
yeah.
that there's definitely I mean it's why like even having Sasha is so important to me because like
Mm.
with her with dogs touch is part of the whole arrangement
Oh
and it's
yeah.
why I think people love dogs so much and why like you see such bonds form in strictly heterosexual strong men. They have these loving relationships with dogs because they have that physical contact.
I think that's absolutely correct. I before we left town in December, someone uh messed with their credit cards and they shut her credit cards off.
Hmm.
Great timing. And I
Mm.
went up to the pickup line and I walked up to one of the other moms and I was just like, I need a hug. So it was so upsetting. We were leaving that night and we had no money
No.
for 19, 20 days or whatever. And like, so I do feel comfortable. Like, and sometimes I'll just tell Mike, like, I need a hug. Or like
Yeah,
last night, I was like, I need you to cuddle me to sleep.
fair enough.
Because, and I am okay asking for that. And I am okay asking for what I need.
Yes. I
Can
think
you do that?
I think I can, but like I have fewer friends I could probably um
Ask
easily
of.
ask that of, and like again, that's nothing to do with them or yeah, I think so many of us grew up in a similar sort of environment, where it's like it's been a learning process to get to the stage, where of hugging sort of generally speaking.
Mhm.
Um but I do have friends I can ask for a hug from, and I think that I really do kind of cherish those friendships. I really do. But like I am so in the weeds over kind of anything in terms of, if it's a female friend, should I be asking them to hug them more often? Is that an issue with like sexual dynamics or anything like that? Which is just like if I'm in a decent place, I'm like, it's just my friend. I'm asking my friend for a hug. It's no problem. It's male,
I,
female,
I, yeah,
you
I
know?
hug all my dude friends.
Yeah.
I do. It's
Yeah.
just, if
I,
they're my close friends, I don't, uh, and that's just me.
yeah.
I, you know,
I think it's
I'm a hugger.
yeah, we're both huggers. We're those weird huggers. And a movie from the 80s. We're huggers.
And
These
like I have a
guys.
friend, yeah, I have a friend I've known since I don't know. I was like 13 or 14 and like I love him so much. He's one of my favorite people ever. You would love him.
Hmm.
He's super into comic books.
Nice.
And he always like gives me the biggest hug and like the biggest kiss on the cheek. And I
Nice.
always feel so good, and it's like, but it's like, I've known him for literally forever.
Yeah.
But it just like his hugs and like just that he feels close enough to me to do that, like that feels so good.
Yes. No, it is. It's
And
special and I think, you know, not to get too modern society is, but like, it's I think the whole sort of internetness of it all has driven us even further apart and even kind of less likely to get to that place.
yeah,
And I think that really sucks.
I do too. I do too. What do you, so okay, let's think back, like history,
Hmm.
culture, are we moving in a direction towards more ability to have that physical contact or not?
I think we're gonna
Like
have to.
in like 50 years, what do you think
I
things
think
will
we're
be
gonna have to
like?
like so many things. It's gonna have to hit a crisis point before things are done about it. Which is really kind of sad. Um, I there are pockets of it, and we've been in pockets of it. Where physical contact's different, and it's seen as something that is restorative and an extension of kindness and happiness and friendship and things like that. So I think that yes, but I think unfortunately for the foreseeable future, it needs to happen in sort of controlled environments a little, with people that you trust and things.
Hmm.
Because like anything in this life, people will find a way to kind of use it for their own sort of nefarious aims, unfortunately.
Hmm. The power dynamic.
The power dynamic, yeah,
Ugh.
gross.
The assholes of the world
The assholes of
ruin
the
it for
world.
everyone, ruin it for everybody else.
The guys the guys who work in an office complex and decide to give all the like female employees back massages, those sorts of guys.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yes, I do.
I know,
You
those guys
know,
ruin it for everyone.
all women have stories, I'll
Yes.
say, and that's just an unfortunate part of society. And
Yeah, like, and I've seen it, and I've seen dudes who'll just throw their arms around women and stuff like that, and be like, and you can see from their body language, yes, exactly. They're like going, "Ugh, get off me," but they don't care or they don't give a shit or whatever.
yeah, and then women don't feel like they have especially if it's your boss. You don't
Exactly.
feel like you can be like, please don't touch me
Yeah,
like
get off me,
that.
creep. Yeah. Hmm. But
Like
yeah.
hit him in the throat.
Yeah, that would be
No, you
amazing.
go home and you lay in bed and then you like stew and you talk and then you walk yourself through a scenario where like you would have done
Yeah, well,
something and it's
yes,
just
yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've been there. Have I told you? And I developed this idea for when I was working in IT, which was so like you whenever you're doing IT work, people will ask you stupid shit all the time, and like we'll be like, "Hey, quick question," and I'm like, "I guarantee you this isn't a quick question. I guarantee it isn't." So my idea was that like Batman style, IT staff would be equipped with smoke bombs. So if somebody else says, "Hey, quick question," you just throw a smoke bomb at your feet and just disappear.
disappear.
And I was thinking that's be good for like social things as well in those circumstances. Just like you just recoil, throw a smoke bomb at the ground, and you're gone.
Da, 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 da,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
da.
yeah.
Yeah, like the
Then
Michael Keaton one
you
where you
you
up into the sky.
exactly. You either grapple to a higher place or you float off a building. Yeah. These,
Smart.
this is, these are practical solutions for today's issues, right?
It's true. It's true.
Okay.
So, okay,
Good.
so hard question, not really.
Mhm.
What do you think is the most powerful thing about touch?
Um, you know,
Um,
this is how a podcast should go, right? I think it allows a deeper sense of connection. I think it is a powerful tool in fighting off loneliness in people. You know, so I think those are the two things that are probably kind of the most important parts of it. And I know that's not true for everyone, and people have had experiences that makes it difficult for them. But I think that
yeah.
a lot of people would maybe benefit from a wee bit more touch from people that they care about, from people that they know. I think it could help kind of stave off all the sort of as I say, loneliness and sort of individuality that people are kind of feeling.
Hmm. With my kids, you always hear about like, or hear from friends, or, when you watch movies and someone's like, my parent never told me they loved me my whole
Yeah.
life, right? Or like, I never got a hug from my parent, like you were saying. And so with my children, I'm like, if you feel it, say it.
Yes.
If you feel it, it's like with mom and dad, like if you feel it, do it. If you just like, so there's a lot of I love yous that fly around. Like Harper, I don't know, she's a hugger too.
Yes. Well,
And so it's it's wonderful. It's such a good feeling
yeah.
to be hugged by my children.
That's nice.
and my
That's
husband obviously, but like
yeah.
these little people like are hopefully gonna within reason
Hmm. No,
just
I think that's great.
yeah, be
Yeah.
connected with other people in a way that is missing.
And it's like these things send ripples out, you know what I mean? And you
I
know.
love the ripple effect, like a positive ripple effect.
Yes.
That's like my jam.
And I think you know what, I'm right there with you as well. It's just why I always try to treat people kindly and because then, they'll hopefully treat people kindly and on it goes.
Yeah,
Um, but easier said than done sometimes,
it's true. It's
sadly.
true. Do
Um,
you want to talk about joy? Do you have anything else on the topic, or do you want to switch?
um, no, I don't think so.
Thank you for being open about this.
I,
And I don't, it's a hard, it is, it's, I had a hard time. I was like, how far to take it? Like what's
yeah,
appropriate, what's not appropriate. But I think that um it's something that it's worth talking about. And I
yes,
wish it was more of a conversation.
I think so too. And I
And
just, I just, sorry, go on.
I just wish that you had that like you could have professional cuddlers in your culture.
Yeah, this is true. Or I could I mean, like, it would probably help me in my personal life cuddles if I was a professional cuddler as well.
I think so.
Uh,
Well, everybody benefits, right?
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, no, it's like something I think about. I mean, like, of the many things I think about incessantly, it is something that I think about a lot. And I think it's an interesting topic. I think it's something that affects everyone, and like and I see it in people as well. I see people like withdrawn or feeling uncomfortable, or people who kind of maybe want hugs, but they're not quite sure how to communicate it as well and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know. It's I think it's something that's worth thinking about, and I hope that, universally the situation improves and we all get to hug people more often.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Thank you.
Um, no, thank you. So yeah, shall we talk about joy? I'm gonna ask you, Beth, what's been bringing you joy this week? I gotta,
Um, I'm gonna circle back to seeing my best friend
yeah.
and her fiance. They're just it was so all I wanted for Christmas was to see them
Hmm.
and give them a hug and like just so last night like they're really like chosen family and
Yes.
our kids call them aunts
Yep.
um and just sitting around and like talking about like I've known her since I was 18 years old and so just having um that family feeling
Yep.
and commonality and inside jokes and just being stupid together. And I just like, I love how much they love my family
Hmm.
and I love how much like I love them. And
That's
so I
great.
really like, yeah, I'm tearing up a little. Not really,
That's
but
nice.
it's so nice to have such wonderful people in my life. And that brings me joy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
What
Um,
about, I'll ask slowly, what about you, Andy?
I no, it's okay. I've remembered the what I was going to talk about. Um, so I there's been a film I've been trying to watch for ages, and I finally watched it at the weekend. It's called Past Lives, and I thought it would really resonate with me because of like the topic. So basically, it's about this um these two friends. They're like Koreans. It's a boy and a girl, and like they're both about 12 years old. They're really close, and the girl's family is emigrating to Canada, and they decide just look because they know they're emigrating that she wants her daughter to have nice memories, so she goes out on a date with this kid, like is just like in a play park, and they have really kind of fond memories of each other. And she moves away, and then it's like 12 years later, and he's thinking about her, and they kind of reconnect. I won't spoil the movie, but it's just about the kind of how their lives intersect over time. They don't it does there's not tons of crossover, but like it's about their relationship throughout time, and it is really beautiful, a really kind of lovely way to think about relationships. It's not all good, but it's such an interesting insight to that sort of relationship. It was the sort of thing that like I recommended it to my friend. I was like, I watched Past Lives. It was emotionally devastating, 10 out of 10.
Okay. I'm writing it down.
It was just, I don't know. It was, I don't even know if I'd describe it as a love story, but it's really, it was really lovely. And it was just exactly the sort of thing that I kind of connect with. So yeah,
Mhm. I love it. I'm gonna watch it.
yeah, do definitely. It's a
Okay.
good one. It's mostly in Korean, but as long as you don't mind the subtitles side of things, it's really
I love
fantastic.
subtitles.
Yeah,
I have
me too.
captions on all the time because I'm deaf,
Like,
so
like, and also like being, having spent time in Korea, it's really funny hearing Korean words like, just Korean, certain Koreanisms, and you're just like, oh, I miss Korea, you know.
we call
But yeah,
that old home week.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, still it was very nice indeed. But yeah.
Very good. Very good.
So yeah, so I think we are ready to wrap up, folks. I'm nearly lost my voice. Good job. We're at
Yeah.
the end of an episode, right? Um, so folks, we would like to remind you, as always, to stay bendy.
Bendy. I think
Right.
you won.
Thanks, folks. We love you. Bye.
Oh, love you. Bye, bye, bye. Okay, stopped.
Good job. Right. So we'll
Me